Aloha from our side of the island here at Villa Halcyon on the beautiful part of the Philippines called Puerto Galera. This is actually where I now call my home with my amazing superhero soulmates and our fabulous Frenchies. So this is my favorite place in the entire world. And for the first time in my life, at a time when the world is at its knees, I'm actually using my time for myself. We can do that? That's what I thought. So if there's anything that COVID-19 has taught me, is to stop wasting my time, my focus, my energy, which is essentially our most valuable resources, on the things that no longer serve me, my passion, and the people that I love. So needless to say, this wasn't planned at all. I spent my whole life up until this year either as a scholar or as a workaholic. And over the years of conditioning, my belief system was that in order for me to be more, I had to do more. And can you blame me? I mean, we live in a culturescape where it's, the hustle. It's all about no pain, no gain, always fake it till you make it, push, push, push. That sometimes we're so busy being busy that we forget why and who we're actually doing it for. And this culturescape, it's constantly distracting us from at least for me, our inner values and drawing our focus to what's called the gap. The gap, we all know this, the gap between who we are and who we should be. And there's nothing wrong with, seeing it as a gap, because ambition is a wonderful thing. Ambition drives passion. But the danger, however, is when we start to believe that that gap is somehow defined as something that we lack, something that we need to earn, to do, to prove, to strive for. And that gives birth to the thought of, oh, I'll be happy when I get this. Oh, I'll be more content when I get this job. Or I'll be a better person when I fill in the blanks. And that's honestly how I thought. So I worked my butt off to achieve just in order to fill said gap. And that was, that's how I gained my self-worth, by doing, by achieving. So much so to the point that I wasn't running my life was actually running me. Now, granted, I was able to do a lot of beautiful things with my work. I was able to travel to 6 continents around the world in concert. I was able to share the stage with Grammy Award-winning artists like Sting and Chris Bodie. I sang in a Disney movie. I qualified for several, the Triathlon World Championships. It was fantastic. But all of that and then some, I still was not fulfilled. Not even close. Which actually was very, very scary, because the more I accomplished, the more fearful I became, because the gap didn't get any smaller. And it was in fact the opposite, and it's caused this self-perpetuating cycle of shame and this anxiety that we never seem to cease. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing in my head would be this giant hourglass that had been toppled over, and my to-do list. Everyone has this dream, except usually in our underwear in front of a lot of people while it's happening. And so this hourglass, the top tier is running out of sand, running out of time, and yet the to-do list isn't getting any shorter. It just keeps piling on. And that was how I woke up for the better part of 2 decades. And at one point, I was in a different country every single week, or even every couple of days. I was completely sleep deprived. I was addicted to sleeping pills, which didn't work. And I was diagnosed at a very late stage, because I was too busy running around to get diagnosed, with a chronic condition of ADHD as well as an anxiety disorder. So my doctors actually indicated that I had to slow down or actually stop, because I was on the verge of adrenal fatigue. And mind you, a nervous breakdown. And there's nothing wrong with a nervous breakdown, to all my nutters out there, okay? Because, a breakdown means that there's a point of realization, a point of humility and acceptance and release. And even though it's really painful, it can be very liberating. And the breakdowns are often the first stages of our breakthroughs. Now, my breakthrough was very simple, if you look at it, but it wasn't easy. It still isn't easy. My breakthrough was the acceptance of who I am, including all that entails. My fears, my weaknesses, my failures, my shame, all that I am, acceptance of who that is, and knowing that I am actually enough, and that I am worthy of love. I know you may seem, well, that's, everyone's enough and worthy of love, but not all the time do we actually feel that. You'd be surprised the words that we say to ourselves, words we would never even say to an enemy. And that's what I had. And so my breakthrough was really accepting that I am enough, and without the need to do anything, without the need to prove or to strive or to earn, to prove to anything, to anyone, and most of all, to myself, especially myself. Now, mind you, this breakthrough, this acceptance, it doesn't come overnight. Those eureka moments, that doesn't happen. The breakthrough isn't like in the movies in Mulan, where she all of a sudden wakes up and she's this badass and she knows it and she's a woman and she conquers China or whatever she does. That's not what happens. That's not what happened. It took time. It's still taking time, Even in this beautiful space, I still have moments where I don't feel like I want to get up out of bed, let alone do anything else. And that's why it's called the practice. It's the practice of acceptance every single day. And it's the practice that's led me to where I am right now in this beautiful place. And a practice that's led me to finally taking ownership over my choices, all of my choices, whether or not I'm aware of them, and actually choosing to spend my most valuable resources, my time, my energy, my focus on what I love. Now, for me, there's no better way to spend my time on love. Love is the oxygen of life. And so I want to spend my time on self-love, time for my health, my physical, my mental, emotional health, all of it, which is so crucial that we so often overlook. And it's time on my self-awareness, on discovery, because that's where identity comes from that self-love. I want to spend time on life love, time to play and an adventure. We're so busy being busy that, when we play, we think that we're losing time because it's unproductive, when in fact, it is the moments of play and that childlike wonder when we are in the present moment. Exactly, right then and there, when we are our true liberated selves without any agenda trying to cloud whoever that may be. And when we're in that state, that's when we're most creative. That's when the most genius, innovation, and true self comes out. And so I want time for that life love, the play, the adventure, time to challenge myself, time to be able to grow, which, by the way, challenge and growth, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. But that's the beauty of it. And that's actually where passion is drawn out, in the adventure, in the play for the sake of playing, in the challenges as well as the growth. In the moments where, even if it's difficult, we lean in, because that's when we prove to ourselves what we're actually made of, and it's liberating. And of course, the most important area where we can spend our time is time to spread love, because that's where true fulfillment lies. Now, doesn't mean that you have to be Mother Teresa or a martyr to be able to spread love. Just look at your sphere of influence, the people that are constantly around us, the people that we pass on our way to work or to the supermarket, the people in our house. Time to spread that love. There's a beautiful study and a statement by Dr. Martin Seligman, and he says that in all the years and research and study of positive psychology, there is not one single action that is more powerful to produce joy and zest and hope and fulfillment in a human being's life than the action of giving oneself, doing a kind and loving thing for another person. And that's because when we create something of ourselves, our true selves, and we bring it out and manifest it into the world, and we reach out to someone else to impact someone else's life outside of our own, that's it right there. That's us being fulfilled and actualized. That illuminates the big picture, which then, of course, overshadows the fear, because then you see fear for what it actually is, nothing in comparison to true love. And that's what I want to spend my time in, because that's where purpose comes from. And when we look at that, I really, really believe that if we're able to prioritize these things, our identity, our passion, our purpose, then that gap that we were talking about between who we are and who we want to be, it's no longer a gap about something that we lack. That's not the story anymore. Instead, we see that gap for what it is, which is this journey. It's this runway through which we discover, who and why and how we want to show up in every aspect of our lives. And so then when we see the gap through that lens, all of a sudden we're not constantly obsessing over the fact that we're not at the finish line because we're too busy savoring the little bit of in-between moments. And that's what it's about, you know? Because when we understand that it's every single step that takes us there, however long that it takes, however small the steps are, however small that step is, I'll say it again, however small that step is, that's actually what shows us. Those are the steps, the moments that show us what we're made of and how we contribute ourselves to the world around us. My name is Adda, and it is my vision to inspire people to become passionate about themselves. Because to prioritize a healthy and flourishing lifestyle, which breeds identity, which breeds passion, which breeds purpose. Because I really believe that that is the engine that operates everything else. It is the source that fuels the creativity of an artist. It is the grit of an athlete. It is the innovation of an entrepreneur. It's the generosity of a relationship. It is the zest and energy that you see in a leader. It's what breeds the capacity of each of our individual fulfillments in every aspect of our life. And so our ability to achieve anything that we want, and we can, anything that we want, is determined by the quality and state of our well-being. Because this is it. This is what I really believe, the key takeaway out of all of this. Is finding what you love, because when we value ourselves, we value what we produce. We value the integrity of who and how and why we show up in every aspect of our life. We take ownership of the choice and the choosing of that direction. Now, that choice, that's entirely up to you. Remember, you are not only capable of being extraordinary, you were born for this.